Okay, welcome to the Great Tech Debate, episode number 6, I believe. Today we're joined with 3 other guests. We have Rob from St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, Rob.
Hey.
We got Eric from New Jersey.
Hello.
And we got Jay from Kansas. You're in Kansas City, right, Jay?
That is correct. Hello, everyone.
Jay's from the deltasector.com. That's a podcast he does. Jay was my inspiration for late night podcasting. So if you guys ever watched Nuts at Night, I got the idea from Jay. It was a great idea. So thanks, Jay.
Hey, no problem.
Okay, so here's how the Great Tech Debate works. If you never heard the show before, each person has to bring a debate topic to the table, and then we kind of go around and we talk about that. And then once we are through with that, we go to the next one until we are all extinguished, and then we'll talk about whatever we want. So why don't we start with Rob, and we get right into the debate here. Rob, what debate topic do you bring to the table today?
Well, I just wanted to discuss, so most of what you talk about is typically smaller business and walk-ins and individuals that you're dealing with. I just want to discuss the difference between that and supporting like an enterprise. I know that Mike from Mike Tech Show has dealt with enterprise before, and he may still do some of that, I think. But where does this change from being, businesses and small businesses and individuals versus dealing with a larger enterprise, and what the differences are, and where you draw that line?
All right.
So you want me to start off, or?
Yeah, why don't you start off, and then I'll tell you my experience with it.
Okay. Well, as we were saying earlier off air, I've always been enterprise. That's all I've ever dealt with, not counting, family and friends, of course, that everybody has to give tech support to for free. But as far as pay, I've always had an IT position in a large enterprise, and I can definitely see differences there. The big differences I see are you're dealing with more standardization. The people I deal with, almost everybody's on the same desktop or on the same laptop. The hardware is standardized for the most part. And you can dictate things more than I imagine you probably can with an individual that comes in, and you can't tell them, hey, you know what, I want you on this version of IE. I don't care what you say. So those are the big differences I would imagine would exist, but not having done the small business and individual side of things, I couldn't say for sure. Yeah,
I think there is definitely a very big distinction between the two. I mean, once you cross the line, it's like it's evident that you're in a different world as far as that goes. I guess the break point for that is when you start using a server instead of individual desktops. You know what I mean? You start using a server to serve up applications and data, and then you're into that realm. But I mean, small businesses have servers too. So I mean, you could have a small business with 3 or 4 people and still be in that. You're right on. I guess you're right on the edge there when you do that. I've never worked. I mean, I've actually had jobs where I'm part of. I never was in the IT department, but I was in jobs at corporations where they have huge IT departments. And then, as far as my business, I just do residential computer repair, where the individual customer, the consumers, they bring it in one by one. We handle that. We give it back. So I can imagine, because I've thought about it, taking a step from going from like a residential computer repair shop to servicing small businesses. And that is a conscious decision I know I would have to make. So there's no real question in my mind. I think I know when the step will present itself, and I know that when I take that step, I'm into a whole different type of area. So to me, it's kind of clear in my mind. And it's just a matter of whether I want to do that or not. Because we've had businesses come in and say, do you do small businesses? And if I said yes, then bam, I'm right into that field. I'd have to learn like Windows 2000 server and all that, or Windows 2003 server, or 2008 server, 2007. I don't even know what it is. But I'd have to learn a new set of skills, I think.
Yeah, so you'd be okay with like a shop that had like 10 computers, as long as they didn't have a server in the mix. They were all just, hitting a router there in the office or something.
Yeah, I think that's the break point, that server. That's where, I mean, now I know that's where that would trip me up, because I've never really worked strongly with like Windows Server. So like the Active Directory and all that stuff, I would be kind of in the dark for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How about you guys, Eric and Jay?
I was going to say you were talking about where you divide the small and large. You're talking server. I would think you would divide it where they start using Active Directory, and I don't think too many small businesses really use Active Directory. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't have much experience working with, like you, Steve. I don't have much experience working with networks and servers and when I went to school, we worked with them a little bit, but I would think that's where you draw the line. I mean, I prefer working with in my job. I have to work with the IT department, and I prefer working with a larger IT because it is much more standardized, and everyone has the same the same desktops, and usually the users don't have admin rights, which is a good thing because users will screw up a computer every single time they can.
Sure.
So I prefer it that way.
Now, do you need, when you have Active Directory, you're saying you don't need a server to use that? See, I'm probably going to sound like a complete tool to any IT administrator out there, but I just don't know this area. I'm sorry. But Active Directory, doesn't that mean you're running like Windows Server?
You do need Windows. You do need a server to run Active Directory, and usually that runs off of a server. But you don't. There's different types of servers, and usually the Active Directory run off the domain controller.
Right. Okay. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Which is like the granddaddy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just learning. I'm just telling what I learned in school. So it's really the granddaddy of servers, and it controls everything. So, but I think that's, as far as I know, that's really only used in larger IT networks. It's not used too much. If it's like 10 people, then it's not really going to use that. Am I wrong about that?
Well, I mean, I've seen businesses that have Active Directory running for, I think 25 is probably the smallest I've seen. But you're right, there does need to be some sort of server architecture there to support that. And so, yeah, I could see what Steve was saying about, if they're running apps off of a server, that's definitely a step above just having, if they've got a server in there that's essentially acting like a NAS or a SAN or something,
right,
that's not a big deal probably. But if the server's serving up apps or it's serving up a database or something like that, then that's definitely a step up, I would imagine.
That's what I would,
complexity.
Yeah.
Are more people using NASs? I mean, because they're available just for home use now. So, do you think more people are using those now? More businesses, I should say, not more people.
Instead of a file server, like instead of an actual computer.
I mean, in NAS, you go into any, like Newegg or any place, or you go to Circuit City when they're around. They all have NASs for sale and whatnot. So I would think it'd be more common now.